Hi, welcome back to Eve Vegas. It's Matterall, and I'm here with Ashterothi.
Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashterothi.
Finally, we can have a look at him. All right, yeah, totally different than I imagined. But I met him a few years ago, so that's when I was shocked. And now you're shocked too. With me also is CCP Ghost.
Hey, how's it going?
It's nice to meet you finally. It's the first time that we're meeting and first time we're talking, but I've seen you on stage many times, so you're a veteran of this.
Yes, I've been on stage many times. This is my second time in Vegas, and I've had quite a lot of presentations over the years. Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of injuries, it turns out, right? Because anyway, we won't tease you about that. But you are now the CCP Strategist, right?
Yeah, that is correct.
Okay, what does that mean in general?
I mean, the simple answer is I'm very lucky that I basically get to do a lot of research into this magnificent beast that is the EVE community. I mean, when Hilmar, the CEO, when he sought me out to join the company, he basically told me, like, I'll give you access to the world's greatest behavioral data set, which is 15 years of behavioral data from the economy of EVE Online, which was super intriguing to me. And then since then, having to get to know the economy and all of the insane stories and corporations and logistics and that the players go through, I've come to respect it a lot, and I love just learning more about that. So I've done researches into like friendships and connections, who the elite players are and what characterizes them. Recently, I've been looking a lot at the economy, and so that's what my day-to-day job is. And then I'm also the team lead for analytics.
Oh, great. Yeah, so you've been looking at the friendship machine, and that's the name of your talk that you're going to have on Sunday, right?
Yeah.
So what's that about?
The friendship machine is, we've been doing some research now for a couple of years into how the connections of the game form. And we found some pretty amazing stuff which deals with, like, if you just look at what it takes to form friendships in real life. There's a famous formula called the friendship formula, which dictates that if you want meaningful social interactions with somebody, you need proximity, frequency, duration, and intensity. Intensity being the most important element in forming friendships with somebody. And EVE seems to be optimized for the intensity aspect of it, which is why EVE seems to form much deeper, meaningful friendships than most other video games. And we've been exploring that and found some really crazy stuff that I'm going to share on stage.
Oh, that's exciting. So intensity is the secret sauce of EVE Online.
Yeah, I mean, that's one way to put it, definitely.
That and the complication of the economy, I'm sure.
yeah, for sure.
The other thing that you're going to be talking about, you're going to be doing the roundtable with, I was about to call him by his real name, but CCP Larrikin. Yeah, and he's doing the presentation on, I think it's called Data and Bots.
Yeah, data and botting. Yeah, so I'm going to join him for the roundtable on that. Because we want to start a better dialogue with our players on data and bots, but also on like economy and some elements there we're going to discuss on stage.
Oh, this is very interesting. So you're going to start a better relationship with data, because sometimes some of the people that I've talked to say that the data is not quite right. You guys are missing a thing or two, or that sort of thing. So you're looking at bettering that relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if there's something that I've learned time and time again is when I'm trying to understand something, I have this, I don't know if it's a condition, but like when I'm trying to understand something, it keeps me up at night. Like I can't relax until I understand it. And when it comes to EVE, when I'm trying to understand something, what I've learned, I guess I could say the hard way, is that it's much cheaper for me and more efficient if I start by going through the players and understand what they already know, because usually they're steps ahead of me. And so that's today, when I start any big research project, I start by talking to the players, and I have an expanding network of players that I can rely on in this, and they sort of help me guide, like, what are the filters that I need to be aware of. And when it comes to data, we are aware that some of the alliances and corps in the game, they have really impressive data systems that we would love to learn from. I mean, I don't know if they're up for that dance, but we at least want to ask them about it and just ask them, like, what do you guys feel we are not, that we could improve on when it comes to this?
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so when we talk about the kind of stuff, so it's interesting, you're looking at EVE Online, trying to understand what the appeal is, and then you're looking to help marketing figure out like who are those players that we can attract to the game. Is that an aspect of your job to find the new players, the new target audience?
Not specifically, but often when I'm doing this research, I come across intel that is definitely useful for this. I mean, one of the things I'll be sharing in my presentation is we found out when we started looking at our elite players is that they had very noticeable characteristics, which is the characteristics of resiliency. And when we started looking at it and interviewing them about it and researching it, they told us that those character traits were being grown or strengthened through playing the game, which meant that, which is something we hadn't realized before. I mean, my initial gut feeling was like we need to target resilient people. Those are the type of people who will love our game. But then those players were like, no, you become resilient by playing the game. So that's an aspect of like, what is that? How does that feed into marketing, and how does that feed into like how we integrate people into the game?
Yeah, if you were to go chasing resilient players, you'd miss the point that you could make resilient players.
Exactly.
Got it. All right, so talking about the resiliency and the blackout that happened and some people leaving the game, I don't know how many, what are your feelings about this summer and what was it like?
What I loved about the summer, I mean, there were ups and downs about the summer for sure. What I loved about it is the massive amount of knowledge and learning that we got out of it. I feel that we are armed to the teeth now as a company with meaningful, valuable insights that we couldn't have gotten if we wouldn't have done the summer the way we did. So like doing something unannounced that's really surprising to players, that's changing or interacting with big macro playstyles means that you're going to get sometimes violent reactions, which is what we got, but it also means that you'll get interesting friction and interesting data from it. So we definitely, not all of our decisions were good for sure, but I think we've learned a lot from it, being able to improve going forward.
Oh, cool. So Ashterothi, you wanted to ask something. What is it?
Yeah, you were, when you first showed up, one of the things that you were known for at the very beginning was a new NPE known as the Inception MP, which was a dramatic departure from NPEs that we've seen so far. Obviously, we've moved away from that, but now that we are circling back on and putting so much focus on the new players and retention and all that sort of stuff, what did you really learn from that Inception NPE, and what are you bringing into what we're doing now?
I love that question. Thanks, because the Inception MP is something that I care a lot about, and we cooperate a lot with the community about it, and we put a lot of effort into getting the community help us assess it, and the overwhelming response, we sent out surveys and questions to like Brave Newbies, EVE University, all of those elements to help us assess this, and the overwhelming response was that players liked it. It was lowering the entry barrier to the game, and most of the feedback that I got that I cared about the most was when players were telling me like, my wife can now try out the game for the first time ever, stuff like this, which really I was really happy to hear. So that was the good thing. The bad thing, what we definitely screwed the pooch, was we didn't connect it to anything, and that was also just because we kind of ran out of time and resources to do it. So you got this really much on rails experience for a couple of hours, and then all of a sudden you were left on your own and not sure about where to go. So we managed to delay the massive drop-off that was happening much earlier in the game. The other thing we probably should have been more careful with was that the experience was, this was one of the main criticisms we got for it, that it wasn't EVE enough in a sense that we were putting you on rails and not giving you sort of the choice. That was by design, because we believed that doing the rails for the couple hours would give you the agency to better handle the EVE element of it, which we had researched being the main problem for new players coming into the game. It was too overwhelming for them. So that was those were the big lessons, is that overall people liked it. It seems to drop the entry barrier to the game and attract new type of players that could now enter the game, but we didn't connect it powerfully enough to further progression into the game, and we may have potentially went too far into the rails element of it. And then from a production standpoint, it was too rigid. So like changing it after the fact, when we had like changes to the game, it was very difficult because we didn't have branching on it. So that caused some problems moving forward after the fact.
All right. Do you have a follow-up or anything?
Just about the friendship machine too. I have a question about the friendship machine because obviously this is something that we've only recently been introduced to as a player base. Obviously, you guys have been thinking about this for a while. And we've heard about the friendship machine in kind of like an abstract concept, but then we also have seen a lot of new additions to the game, like emerging conduits and various invasion content that really seems to be about allowing friendships to form. So is the emerging conduits part of the friendship machine, or how does that play out when it gets moved into the practical?
Yeah, absolutely. The company's now much more aware of this and aware of, I think what we've learned mainly over the last couple of years or so when we've been doing this research is how much of a secret sauce this is to our success. How powerful the game seems to be in creating these meaningful friendships. I mean, I just got back data from a survey where I asked our players if they'd made friends playing EVE Online. And this is some of the stuff I'm going to be sharing on Sunday. And 73% of our players say that they've made friends playing the game, which is insane. It's insanely high. So we are increasingly becoming aware of this, meaning that I think development and all the other elements in the company are aware of like, this is our superpower and we need to connect to it. So moving more towards stuff where we improve connections or lower friction for connections to happen, I think is very important. Which brings us back to, and that's a second thing I'm going to be discussing because I've been looking into the economy, is we're seeing some worrying trends in the economy with like siloing and people being less reliant upon each other for economic cooperation. So that to me is a very worrying trend, and I want to open up a dialogue with the players more about like what do we need to do or how can we improve there.
So siloing is when a player is able to generate their own money by themselves without working with other people?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And when I started looking into this, I mean, first I just got a couple of reports from individual players telling me like, hey, actually, you know, you're able to do this really efficiently. You don't need other players. And I was like, you know, these are probably just one-off cases. But when we started looking at it more, it's increasing. And it's a trend that I'm at least worried about when it comes to these connections especially. So I think we should at least be aware of it.
Oh, it's great. So you guys recognize it. Cool. Are you looking forward to the rest of the convention?
Oh, absolutely. eVegas is the best, man. I love it. This is my second time here. And just the chats. What I love about the player gatherings is like the passionate chats that you'll run into, like, you know, in the hallways. Because like somebody will come up to you and he will tell you about something that he's doing or you know, you saw a chat or something. And then he's be like, I've been thinking about this. And then something like massively, fantastically brilliant thing comes out of his mouth. And I'm just like, wow, like I never thought about this. And then I go back to my hotel room and I'm scribbling down notes and I'm like, I need to go back and look at this data.
See, they do listen to you guys. Here's one of the really passionate guys.
Occasionally.
Yeah, and over here we have Fonsway too, who's another guy who's really into a lot of the invasion stuff. So I guess it's really popular with some of these guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's great to meet you, Ghost. Good luck with your presentation, and we'll see you at the roundtables for the economy and for the friendship machine.
Absolutely. Thanks. The pleasure's mine.
All right, thanks. We'll see you next time.